Now, in the rest of Meditations 2, Descartes does some work to clarify exactly what he knows when he knows the cogito, and what he doesn't yet know when he knows the cogito. Another way to put that is, he clarifies what this I that he knows exists, what does he know about it? What does he know exists when he knows that he exists as a thinking thing? So he asks, do I know that I have a body? Do I know that there are processes of thought going on in me? Do I know that there are acts of will, that is, volitions, choices, decisions that are made, even if there's no body carrying them out? Do I know that there is at least a kind of choice among options? Do I know that I'm having sensations? Do I know that I can imagine things? Okay, so a series of questions here. Now, you might want to, in a moment, pause the video and ask yourself, is the answer yes or no to each of these questions? Okay, does the I include a body, the I that is known to exist for sure when one knows the cogito? Does it include the body? Does it include processes of thought, and so on for each of these items? So pause the slide and ask yourself, what do you think the answer is? Descartes is pretty clear about it in Meditations 2, but pause and see if you know the answer, and then when you start the video again, I will give you the answers. So Descartes thinks that he doesn't know that this I has a body, because he could be wrong in what he thinks and perceives about his body. That could all be part of a dream. That could all be put into his head by an all-powerful evil genius. That could be part of the Matrix in more contemporary phrasing. But he does know that there are processes of thought going on, because they're happening in his mind, and he's able to see them directly in his mind as part of his mind. So he knows that there's thinking going on. He knows that there is volition going on, decision making, because he's able to engage in acts of will himself. He can say, do I want to think of a green triangle or a red square? I want to think of a red square, and then think of it. And so being able to make choices even just in his own mind is proof that choices exist, at least as the kinds of things that he is experiencing. He may be wrong about some, the metaphysics of what a choice is. He may be wrong about other things about choices that he's not able to directly perceive. But in terms of what he directly experiences, he can't be wrong in thinking that those things exist insofar as they are immediate or direct parts of his experience. Likewise about sensations. Now here we have to be careful, because when I say that I am a sensing thing, when I describe myself as a thing that senses, okay, that's an ambiguous term. Senses could mean that I undergo sensations as an internal experience. That is, that I see red, green, that I hear sounds, things sound a certain way to me, right? I hear higher pitches and lower pitches. So if we mean sensation in terms of just an internal experience, that at least I'm undergoing some process of experience, of experiencing things that has sensory qualities to it, then yes, I know for sure that there are sensations and that they're part of me, because I can experience them directly. When I look at what I think is a red wall and I see the color red, that I know that I'm seeing the color red. I know for sure that, or I know that I'm seeing that color, that there's an experience of color sensation that's happening right there, because I'm undergoing it in the moment. So I can't be wrong about that. But I might be wrong in thinking that there actually is a wall there. I might be wrong in thinking that that the wall exists. Okay, I might be wrong in thinking other things that I think about colors, like the color spectrum and the way that it's related to wavelengths of light and things like that. I could be wrong about all those things. But the internal, I could be wrong in thinking that I have eyes, that I have eyeballs. Okay, maybe I don't have eyes. So if by sensing we meant, this is the other thing that sensing can mean, again an ambiguous term, we meant actually perceiving an external object or getting information about an external object through our sensory organs. Descartes doesn't know that. Okay, the I that he knows doesn't include any sense organs necessarily. He doesn't know for sure that he has eyes or ears, or that there are such things as walls or other objects in the world that actually have features, color or otherwise. He doesn't know that any of those things exist. So what he knows for sure is just the internal experience of sensations. That he can be absolutely 100% certain of. The external world, that is things outside of his mind and what properties they have, he says, I can't know that, at least not yet. He says, I can't know that at all. I don't mean, he says, I don't know that for sure, whereas I do know the existence of my own sensations for sure. And likewise about acts and objects of imagination. I know that I can imagine things. I don't know if those things that I'm imagining have some correlate in reality or not, but I know at least that there are, experiences that I can have through process of imagination. And Descartes summarizes the total set of features that this I, that he knows exists, the cogito, that this I has. On page 15 in our edition of the text, in a famous short paragraph, he says, but what then am I? A thing that thinks. What is that? A thing that doubts, understands, affirms, denies, wills, refuses, and it also imagines and senses. And again, I would remind you that when he says a thing that senses, he doesn't mean necessarily a thing that effectively gets information about objects in the external world, because he doesn't know even if there exists an external world. So by senses, all he means is has an experience of sensation. So now we can ask a few questions. First, do you agree with Descartes that the cogito is indubitable, that is undoubtable, and that he or you can know it for certain? Do you believe that when you ask about your own thoughts, your own experience, your own I, in that sense, that you can't be wrong in thinking that you exist? In other words, do you know for certain that you exist as a mind, as a consciousness, as an experiencing thing? Is that something that you can be 100% certain of? Or is it possible to doubt even that? So I'll leave you with that question to think about on your own. Is the cogito actually undoubtable, or is it possible? Is it possible for a person to doubt the existence of their own mind or not? And then the second question moves a little bit beyond what Descartes explicitly discusses here, but it's certainly related to Descartes' position about what we can know for certain about ourselves, that we can know for certain that our minds exist. Do you agree with Descartes that in some sense you, that is the I, that you identify when you ask whether you could possibly not exist, that you are your mind alone and not your body? That is yourself primarily your mind rather than your body? Or do you think that somehow that there's a mistake there, that who you are is as much determined, or importantly determined, by your body as well as your mind? Or do you think who you are fundamentally is just a matter of your cogito, or how you think, what you experience, what you sense? Is your I, what you decide, is your I rather something more purely, say, mental and emotional, and not a matter of your physical body? So that's a question for you to think about whether this cogito is also a good definition or account of the self, if it gives us an account of what a self is, or what each one of us is fundamentally as a person or as an individual, or not.